So let's continue with our playlist. But before that, hey, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing extremely well. So the problem that we will be solving today is reversing nodes in K group. So what is the problem exactly stating? It is stating that you will be given the head of the linked list and you'll also be given a value K. Now your task is to reverse the nodes in K group. What does it mean? Let's take this example where you're given the head and you're given the value K as 3. Now your task is to figure out all the groups of size 3 and you'll have to reverse them individually. If I ask you which one is the first group of size 3, you'll be like, this one is the first group of size 3. So what you will do is you'll end up reversing all the nodes in it. So 3 will be at first, after that 2, after that 1 because you have reversed it. So let's do the reversal. You'll have 3, then 2, and then 1. Perfect. Once this is done, which one is the next group of size 3? Can I say that this one is the next group of size 3? I can. So you'll again have to reverse it. So if I reverse it, I'll have 6, then 5, and then 4. And 1 will be connecting to 6. After that, which one is the next group of size 3? This one. So you'll again have to reverse it. So 9 will be at first, then 8, and then 7. So is there any other group of size 3? No. There is only a single element. Now this is not of size 3. So if there is no other group of size 3, it can be of size 1, it can be of size 2, doesn't matter. It has to be exactly of size 3, then only I'll reverse them. Otherwise, I'll just attach it as it is. And this will be my updated head. And this is what I will return as an answer. So before I move on to the solution, there is one video that you should definitely watch. That is reversing a linked list. In case you haven't seen it, go back and watch it and then you can restart this particular video. So how do I approach this particular problem? It is asking me to reverse the nodes in K group. So this is the first group that I'll have to reverse. This is the second group that I'll have to reverse. This is the third group that I'll have to reverse. And for the last one, I don't have to. So if I carefully observe, if I try to reverse the first group, 3 will be here and that will be my updated head. So for the first group, I'll have to think about the updated head because the head will change. Correct? And then it will be following to 2 and then to 1. So if I reverse this, you'll have 6, you will have 5, then you'll have 4. But you'll have to remember that this one will be pointing to 6. So these are the things that I have to take care. Okay. So what I will initially do is, I'll take the first group and I'll just do the reversal on it. And then I'll think for the later half. How can I do that? I'll obviously have to do a traversal because without traversal, I cannot do anything on the linked list. I'll take a temporary, I'll place it at the head. I'll not alter the head. I'll take a temporary and I'll place it at the head. Now I know one thing, that this is my first K group. But if I'm writing the code, how will I know it? I know temporary is standing at the first element. I need the last element of this group, correct? So if I say this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third element. Or rather this is the kth element. So I can simply write a iterative function which can find me the kth node. We can easily write it. I'll not get into implementation details. Get the kth node. So this will be my kth node. Remember this. This will be my kth node. Now I can definitely say that I have the first K group where I have the first element and the last element. I do have it. Now what is my next task? The next task is to reverse this particular first K group, right? How can I do it? I don't know how to reverse a linked list, but it is a linked list. I cannot reverse any particular part of the linked list. I cannot say reverse this much in a linked list. I cannot say it. But what if I send this as an individual linked list? I can. What if I say, hey, let's break this link, or rather, let's break this link and have it point to null. Can I say this? I can. And if I do this, what will happen is, this one will be an individual linked list. This entire thing will be an individual linked list where temporary is the head and kth node is the last node. So now if I call the reverse function, I'll get the reversed linked list. I will. So just call it and get the reverse linked list. So you'll call the reverse function which will reverse the linked list. And this will be pointing to null. So if you remember, whenever you call the reverse function, it returns you the head of the updated linked list, head of the reverse linked list. So this is what you will get in return. This is what you'll get in return. So what you'll get is a new head. Correct? Remember, the initial head is here. So the initial head is still here at 1. The initial temp is still here. Remember this. And kth node is still here. Why? Because even after reversal, kth node will still be 3. Temporary and head will still be 1. So I've just written it. The only thing that the reverse function will do is, it will reverse it. It will reverse it. And I definitely know that the kth node will always be my new head. The kth node will always be my new head. Perfect. I've done it. Now can I say one thing? If temporary is equivalent to head, this is my first group. Hence, the head will always be updated. The initial head will always be updated. So let's update it. So what you'll do is, you'll update the initial head to kth node. You'll update the initial head to the kth node. Done. Super simple. So what I've done is, I'll repeat. First I've placed temporary at head. Then I figured out the kth node. So I know this is my first group. And I need to reverse it. So I've broken down the link and pointed it to null, so that it's an individual linked list. I've just reversed it. So I've got the reversed linked list. Now once I've got the reversed linked list, the initial head was at 1. I know the initial head will get updated to 3. So I'll just do it. Done. Now this is my temporary. This is where my temporary stands. But I need to go to the next group. Which one is the next group? This one. This one is my next group. Correct? How can I go to 4? I cannot go because I've broken down the link. So remember, before breaking down the link, there was a link, right? Before breaking down this link, preserve the next one. So you can easily preserve the next node. And once it is reversed, what you can do is, you can take temporary to the next node. So this is what you'll do. You'll take temporary to the next node. Perfect. So I've done. I've taken temporary to the next node. I can again repeat the task. What was the task? Now I know I have to figure out the next k group. This is the next k group. Again figure out the kth node. So this will be my kth node. Why? If I again run the counter, this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 3, which is the kth node. So I'll again figure out the kth node. Once you've figured out the kth node, what is your next job? Remember, this is like this next node now can go off and this will be temporary. What is your next job? Your next job is to make sure this particular k group is an individual linked list. Otherwise, the reverse function will not happen, right? Will not form the reverse. So what you will do is, you'll break it down. But before breaking down, please preserve the next node. So please preserve the next node. And you can easily do it by saying, kth node of next is my next node. Done. Once you've done this, please break down this node and point it to null. So once you've done it, can I again pass this temporary as the head to this reverse function, and it will reverse it, So once it is reversed, you'll get something like 6, 5, 4. 6 will be pointing to 5, 5 will be pointing to 4, and 4 will be pointing to null. Remember over here, temporary is at 4, and the kth node is at 6. The kth node is still at 6. Done. What is the next thing that you have to do? Just think. The next thing that you have to do is, to make sure this 1 should be pointing to 6. The 1 should be pointing to 6. You'll have to remember which one is your last node. Which one was your last node in the previous group? You'll have to remember that as well. So just use one more variable to remember which one was the previous node. So you'll have the previous node stored. So just make it point. Just make it point. So make the previous node point to this. Done. Now what is the next job? Before going to the next group, which is this one, please make sure you remember the previous node, which is this one, because you need to make the connection. Correct? What's the next? Take the temporary to the next. You can easily do it because you preserved the next node. Done and dusted. What's the next job? Again, this is my next key group. This is my next key group. So I'll do the job for it. So let's do it. So this is my next key group where temporary is standing at 7. Again, find the kth node. So this will be my kth node. Perfect. Once you have got the kth node, what is the next job? Get the next node. So this will be my next node. Perfect. After this is your key group, correct? You'll have to reverse it, but you cannot have it. You cannot reverse an individual section of the linked list. You can reverse the entire linked list. So what you will do is, you will break this link. And you'll make it point to null. Once it is done, can I ask the reverse function to reverse it? Where temporary is my head? I can. So this will be reversed. So what will happen is, you will get 9 following 8 following 7, and this is pointing to null. So do you remember? You preserved the previous node. Now since you preserved the previous node, what will happen is, this will go off and this 4 will be pointing to 9. Done. Where will your temporary be? Your temporary will be here. Your kth node will be here. Quite simple. What is the next job? The next job is to make sure you again preserve the previous node, because you'll have to form the connection. After that, you take the temporary over here. And this is done now. Let's go and find the next kth group. So the next job is to reverse this particular k group. But do we have k elements? We don't have k elements. So if you do not have k elements, I repeat, if you do not have k elements, you don't reverse. So what is the next connection? You just attach this one to this, the remaining elements. So can I say the previous node will be attached to the temporary or to the next node? Doesn't matter. And once this is done, your head is updated, so you're done and dusted. Quite simple. You'll just have to reuse the reverse function. That is what you have to do. So I'll be writing down the pseudocode now. This won't be any language specific code. In case you want the C++, Java, Python or JavaScript codes, the link will be in the description. How do I start off? I started off by placing the temporary at head. So I'll do the same over here. I'll place the temporary at head. And then we did a traversal to find out all the k groups. Let's do a traversal. For that, I'll have to run a while loop for sure. So temporary is not equal to null for sure. What was the next thing? I know that this will be my first k group. So I figured out temporary and I figured out the kth node, if you remember. So let's find out the kth node. So I'll say, hey, function, I'll write a function, find kth node or get kth node. This is your head and it'll have to give me the kth node. It will give me the kth node, which will technically be this one, right? What if it doesn't have a kth node? What if the linked list was only this much, only with 2 elements? Will it have a group of size 3? It won't, right? So you'll have to keep that in mind. What if we have a linked list which is small? So you don't have to reverse anything over here. So please make sure you check if there is no kth node. Imagine if there is no kth node, you get a null. The function returns you null. In that case, you'll have to do something and then break. We'll talk about that something afterwards, but as of now, you stop. So you break. You no more traverse. Perfect. What is the next thing that you will do? The next thing that I will do is, if this is not happening, like if there is a group, then you'll get the kth node. What is the next thing that you'll do? You'll have to separate this k group from that entire linked list, because you cannot reverse a section of the linked list. This will be pointing to this. You'll have to separate it. But do you remember? You need to store this. Otherwise, you cannot traverse further. So please make sure you take a next node and store the next one. So maybe you can take something as next node and you can store it. Next node will be kth node. It's next. So what I've done is I've remembered the next one. Perfect. What is my next job? My next job will be, okay, I've remembered the next node. I'll have to make sure this is separated and pointing to null. This is separated and pointing to null because I need to separate this particular linked list. I'll do that for you. So I'll say, hey, kth node, your next is pointing to null. So what has happened is this particular linked list has been separated. Now you can reverse it. How can you reverse it? It's very simple. Call the reverse function, which is the head. The head is temporary, and ask them to reverse it. So what will happen is you will get this reversed linked list. Now what is the next job? You'll have to identify, is it your first group or is it your later groups? How do you identify that it is your first group? How do you identify? If temporary is equivalent to head, then only it's your first group, first key group rather. So I'll be like, hey, if temporary is equal to head, remember the reverse will return you the head of the updated, head of the reversed linked list. But you already know which one will be the head. The head will be the kth node. You already know it, right? So can I say after reversal, the new head or rather the updated head will be the kth node? I can. So for the first time, I can say that the head, maybe I can use the white one so that you can remember. The head will be the kth node only if this is the first instance, like first key group. Otherwise, what do? Do you update the head? You don't. You don't update the head. But you need to make sure. That you do something else. And what is that something? I'll come to it afterwards. So what I've done is, I made sure this is updated. What is my next job? The next job is to take temporary from here and place it here. Correct? So I'll do that. I'll write the else. So I'll take temporary and place it at next node. I'll take temporary and place it at next. So what I can say is, hey, my job is done. Hey, my job to reverse this portion is done. But do you need to remember this? You need to remember the previous node. Why? Because when you reverse this next k, the previous has to point. So please make sure before moving the temporary here, you remember this. So maybe I'll take another previous node. And I'll say before moving temporary, please remember the previous node. Done and dusted. What will happen on the next stage? Let's analyze. This is where the while loop will end. Let's analyze what happens at the next step. The next step, temporary goes here. Again finds the kth node, which is this. So this is done. This never executes. Perfect. Next node is kth node next. So the next node is stored. Perfect. Kth node next is null. So it points to null. Nice. Reverse. So the reversal happens. Is temporary head? No. So comes to else. What will you do on else? If you're not updating head, please make sure you connect the previous nodes next to this one. Please make sure you do this. So what you'll do is on else, you will say previous node, your next should be pointing to the current kth node. Perfect. So this is done. So I can say this is done. What after this? You'll have to remember the previous node. So you remembered it here. What after this? You'll have to take the temporary. From here and place it here. So this will be done by this. Done and dusted. But what happens during this scenario? What happens when temporary is standing here? Let's go there. What happens when your temporary is here? You go and find the kth node. And what you get is null. So you break out. but I'll have to do one step, which is the previous node has to point to this. The previous node has to point to this. So please make sure you point previous nodes next to null. Sorry, not null, to temporary. Before breaking out, please make sure the previous nodes next is pointing to temporary. Got it? But can you straight away do this? You cannot. Why? Because when you started off, there was no previous node. What if you had a linked list which was something like this? 1 pointing to 2, 2 pointing to null. And this is your head. For the first time, temporary was here, and your kth node will be null. You don't need to do anything. Because this doesn't have a kth node. Since it is the first one, you will never have the previous node. So if there is no previous node, you don't do it. So you will say, hey, if there is a previous node, then only do it. Remember one thing, this will be executed only if it's a lengthier linked list. For smaller linked list, this will turn out to be false. You can take smaller examples, do a dry run on the code, and you'll understand it in a much better way. So let's quickly get back into the code editor and understand the code. So what I've done is, initially I've written the get kth node. It's very simple. Standing somewhere, you have a k, you do minus till you reach the kth node. Super simple. Have a simple traversal by k minus minus, and you return temporary. In case there is no kth node, it will be returning null. I have to write the function k reverse. So initially temporary will be head, previous last, the previous one will be null, and you keep traversing till it is null. Get the kth node by calling the function. If it is null, just make sure you point it. The previous pointing should be done, and then you can break out because there will be no further k groups. After that, you get the next node, just preserve it. Make sure you separate out the linked list, reverse it. If it is head, if it is the first k group, update the head. If it is not, make sure you point the previous k group to the new ones. Just store the previous, and after that, move to the next. Once this is done, update, return the updated head. So I'll go ahead and submit this. So if I ask you what is the time complexity, what will be the time complexity? You're seeing a simple traversal, right? Am I doing something else? I'm also doing a get kth node. So if you carefully observe, if I go back to the iPad, so what I'm doing is, I'm standing temporary, I'm making temporary stand here, and I'm reversing this entire thing, which is basically taking linear time. Then I'm reversing this entire thing. So eventually, I'm reversing section by linear time. So that's definitely a big O of n while reversing. Each and everything, correct? At the same time, I'm trying to find the kth node as well. Like when I'm standing at temporary, I'm finding the kth node. And I'm standing at temporary, I'm finding the kth node. That's another this much, that's another this much, that's another this much, which is again big O of n. So can I say the overall time complexity is big O of 2n? I can. And the space complexity is big O of 1, because I don't think I'm using any external space, because I'm just changing the links and my work is done. So I hope you've understood everything, and in case you still have doubts, what I'll recommend you to do is just write down multiple examples, do dry runs, because that is how I did it. Initially it was tough for me as well, but I did a dry run on a lot of examples, and now it's in my head. So please do it, and if you're still watching, please do consider giving us a like, and if you're new to our channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and with this I'll be wrapping up this video. Let's meet in some other video. Till then, bye-bye, take care.